Thank you very much, Kweku. You're still here. This is the Africa Real Estate Conference and Expo. Our next session will be a panel discussion tagged Women Inspire Panel. And all our panelists are already here. Let me start with the first one I have on my list, Honorable Dr. Frida Prempeh, who is the Minister of State at the Works and Housing Ministry. Honorable Dr. Frida Prempeh is a Ghanaian politician, a member of Parliament in the 7th and 8th Parliament of the Fourth Republic of Ghana, representing the Tano North constituency in the Ahafo region. She is the current Minister of State at the Ministry of Works and Housing. She previously served as the Deputy Gender Minister and Assembly Member from 2002 to 2010. She obtained a degree in Business Administration, Human Resource Management option from the University of Ghana. I haven't finished yet. She also studied MA Comms, Media and Public Relations at Leicester. She also has a PhD in Business Administration from the Ghana Technology University College. Ladies and gentlemen, that's your panel member here, Honorable Dr. Frida Prempeh. And if my memory serves me right, I think she also used to be a prisons officer some years back, before you became the assembly member. Yeah, I interviewed you once for Joy FM. Yes, that's how far my memory can take me. Now, our next person to come onto the stage would be Madam Jibodi Doso, if the pronunciation is right. Now, a bit about her. Jibodi Kweku Doso is a certified high-performance coach, business strategist, corporate consultant, human skills expert, and an award-winning entrepreneur, and founder of Jibodi Consulting Group, a premier personal and professional development brand that focuses on executive coaching, individual grooming, corporate training, and facilitation for diverse organizations. As an accomplished expert and strategist in the areas of personal impact, professional grooming and growth, influence, and high performance, Jibodi has curated an original coaching model that specializes in humaneness, entrepreneurship, leadership, and power, into bracket HELP, which she employs in her field of expertise to guide C-suites, leaders, business executives, large teams, and single experts and entrepreneurs to win at presentations, negotiations, and relationships, as well as brands. Jibodi has served on a lot of company boards, including Vodafone, Guinness Ghana, Cargill, Allianz Insurance, Hollard Insurance, David Tutera, and many more. So there's Jibodi in the pink for you. Next is Mrs. Yvette Adwonvo Atekpe, Managing Director of Dimension Data Limited. Dimension Data Limited. Let's read about her from here. Do I have? I should. Yeah. Mrs. Yvette Atekpe is a formidable female trailblazer with over 20 years of leadership expertise in the ICT sector in Ghana since 1995. She's contributed her quota through Celtel, Hutchison, Africa Online, Aclon, and Internet Solutions, a division of Dimension Data. She has been recognized on both national and international platforms for her exemplary leadership and contribution to the ICT sector. Yvette is recognized for the promotion and advocacy for girls in ICT in collaboration over the years with the Ministry of Communication, Internet Solutions, and Zonta. Under her able leadership as Chairman and Regional Managing Director of Internet Solutions, the South African headquartered organization evolved into a leading brand in Ghana and West Africa for corporate enterprise solutions and client support. She's also known by her team and business associates as a great mentor, quietly fierce, emphatic, a strong woman of faith, integrity, and resolve. And she resolves always to meet and exceed all internal and external client expectations. You're welcome, madam. And then we have Nana Ikua Bema. She is an architect. I don't think that she's here. This panel discussion will be moderated by, she's here? Oh, sorry, but I have no information about it. So probably when it comes to her turn, she'll do a introduction about that. There's also one lady who will be joining us through Zoom. She'll be Pamela Banks. She's the National President, Women Council of Realtors. So Nana Ekuya, please join us up here. And about our moderator, Rashida Adams. Rashida Adams is the CEO of City Spaces, team lead, Real Invest Africa. She is an accomplished real estate broker, developer, and investor. Her work in real estate brokerage and construction spans several African cities. Currently active in Accra, where she is immersed in built-to-rent projects. Rashida is a respected name in the real estate industry in Ghana. She is an avid writer and consultant on real estate matters on her website and across many media platforms, traditional and social, helping clients to confidently evaluate the return potential of real estate investment opportunities in Ghana and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please give a round of applause for all the ladies seated up here? So, as I said, Pamela Banks would be, hold on. Okay, about Pamela Banks, she lives in unincorporated Palm Beach County near Wellington in Florida of the United States of America. She has lived in Florida for a very long time, and although she calls Florida home, she is originally from New Jersey. She attended Broward Community College in Fort, I can't pronounce this one, studying in business communications. She married a high school sweetheart in 1980 and started a family in 1982. She has been married for 40 years and has 3 grown sons and 3 beautiful granddaughters. Pamela began a sales career selling cosmetics and continued as her children grew in such diverse areas as hair supplies and advertising. She parlayed an early job selling ad sales for South Florida housemen into television production sales for the PBS outdoor program Trailside. Whilst these experiences are exhilarating, she wanted a change, and a friend convinced her to go into real estate. So in 2000, Pamela got her real estate license and entered the profession with the same enthusiasm and thoughtful consideration as she had done in her previous careers, and began working at Coldwell Banker. After 3 years, she moved her license to Rex Max Direct. Her referral and sphere of influence business increased, and that is where she was introduced by her broker to the Women's Council of Realtors. She joins us by Zoom. And so to you, Rashida, the microphone is yours, and your guests are ready.
Hello, welcome again. So we have been told time and time again that women can be anything we want to be. And to this end, we need to see more women leaders in real estate to inspire the next generation and show more young people that women can be business and power brokers. Today, I have here 4 now, phenomenal women in real estate, governance, and business. I will first start with the Honorable Frida Prempeh, who's MP, Minister of State, Works and Housing. I'm sorry, it feels like we've already done this, but just to double down again. Pamela Banks is the National President of the Women Council of Realtors. Nana Ekuya is not here. Yvette Atekpe is Managing Director of Dimensions Data Ghana. Jibodi Kwekudosu is CEO of Jibodi Consulting Group. Now, in this discussion today, we will look at women's impact in real estate, the lack of investments in women-owned real estate businesses, growing together as women in this sector, mainly by mentoring young women, building our personal brands to impact our business, as well as making the industry attractive for women. And I'll start with the Honorable Minister. Government has a responsibility to provide subsidies for housing developments, to increase the supply of housing in areas where there's high demand and to offset the housing deficits we currently are experiencing in the country. What I want to know is what steps has government taken recently in this direction? I don't.
Hello. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator, and good afternoon to participants and my colleague panelists here. I bring you greetings from the Ministry of Works and Housing. It's always been the government's vision to roll out affordable housing. And you cannot roll out affordable housing or social housing without government's intervention, because you agree with me that it's a very capital-intensive area. And I was happy when the gentleman who just stepped down was talking about some of the incentives and the exemptions that one can apply through GIPC. And he also talked about the land acquisition. Acquiring land banks in our part of the world, not only in Ghana, but in Africa, is quite challenging and cumbersome. The multiple sale of lands to other people, even by the chiefs themselves. So we have taken it upon ourselves, and for that matter, government, to acquire land banks across the country, so that investors like you and those listening to us, when they knock on our doors, it will not be difficult for them to secure lands in our country. I have personally led that project and traveled across the country to acquire land banks from our traditional authorities, and where government has state lands, we try to acquire state lands as well. And it will interest you to know that majority of the chiefs or the traditional authorities that we have dealt with did not even ask for compensation. They did not take money from us. And I can make mention of the Otu Fuas Antehene, who has given us 200 acres of land in Kumasi, the Desua. There's another 300 acres of land at Fukuyase. My own chief, Adrian Kwanta, has given us 100 acres of land. Yam 400 acres of land, Techima and Goso, and all that. So we are still putting all these lands together. But that should not rule out the fact that some time ago, we still needed to pay compensation or pay for the land. So the ministry also acquired some lands, but unfortunately, we've not been able to pay the compensation or the amount involved. So we've not been able to acquire it and have title to the land. So that's one major aspect that the government wants to take it out of the way for every investor. Now, we even want to go beyond just the acquisition of land. We are still, having a conversation with the sector ministries and, for that matter, with government. For government to also take charge of the off-site infrastructure, because road construction, electricity, sewage, drainage, and all that are capital intensive. And once the investor gets hold of the land, he will add all these to the cost build-up of the project. So eventually, you will not have any kind of affordable housing. But where the government takes charge and pays for all this infrastructure, it brings down the cost of building. We've tried a pilot program in Temba Community 22. We started in 2019. Government paid for the off-site infrastructure, and we gave out some parcels of land to investors, and we gave them about 12 months to complete. And we realized that when you take off that chunk of money, it brings down the cost of investment. Apart from that, we have a lot of exemptions that is available to any investor who knocks on our door. We may not be in the position to grant the exemption, but we'll facilitate the exemption through GIPC. And my dear friend has already mentioned a few. I just want to add one or two more for our listening public to also know that we have all these in place for you. One, we facilitate required amenities to the project. I mentioned electricity, water, and all that. And VAT exemptions for all purchases of goods. When you bring some equipment or materials for the purpose of developing or building from outside, you have a lot of tax exemptions. You have tax holidays as well. We even have exemptions from patent and license registration. A lot of people are not aware of all these incentives. Sorry, a lot of people are not aware of all these. Wonderful. We have exemption of land registration fees, temporary admission for all imports, exemption from registration and stamp duty. So we have a tall list of exemptions which is also available. So yes, government has a lot of interventions to support investors to enable them put up structures purposely for the low and middle income earners. As for the niche homes, when you drive around Accra now or in Kumasi, you see a lot of wonderful, beautiful apartments looking for buyers. So you ask yourself that we're talking about 2 million housing deficits. Why is it that a lot of apartments around people are not buying? They cannot afford. Those who can afford those kind of houses can put up their own houses. So perhaps we have to put up social houses for the vulnerable, for the lower income earners in our society, and also the middle income earners, and that is where we are now. So we are doing our best to ensure that perhaps we have to put up social housing. So that's where we are. So we are looking at the land acquisition, we are looking at other exemptions with the tax holidays, and also want to look at the use of alternative building materials, especially tapping into our local building materials. Because we realize that a lot of the times, building materials also contribute to the cost buildup of projects. And I was happy when our gentleman from South Africa spoke about bent bricks. We have a lot of clay deposits in Ghana. And as part of the One District, One Factory project, in my constituency, we are putting up a brick and tile factory. We are almost done with that. We have a lot of steel in this country. We have a lot of timber. When you go to Europe, when you go to America, a lot of these homes are built with what? Wood, timber. You go to Europe, they are built with bent bricks. But in our part of the world, when you start putting up houses with wood, then they will start talking, Akufo-Addo's government, in Yadai no Musi, they are putting up wood houses. But we go out there and buy them at $1 million, $2 million, and $600,000 and all that. So it's about time we add value to our resources. We are talking about Ghana Beyond Aid. We have all these resources around us. Now, our forefathers used to build with laterites. Now, I'm happy that some investors have started adding value to laterite, adding a bit of cement, a bit of quarry dust, molding them into blocks, molding these hollow blocks and all. We are trying to find a solution to how best we can bring down the cost of building. So yes, the ministry is in the process. The president has also announced the rental assistance scheme. We want to roll out the rent-to-own system project. We want to roll out the rental assistance scheme. And before we can be able to do that, we need to have a data. And I believe that is where we are now. We cannot compare ourselves to Vicky and realtors in the US and Europe. Yes, we are still trying, but I believe we are still at the elementary and secondary stage. But I believe with a collective effort and some programs and fora like this, we'll be able to get there because we learn from each other all the time. Thank you.
Okay, so now we are, thank you, Honorable Minister. So now we are going to go to Yvette Tepe. She's going to tell us how technology is going to affect real estate investments in the future. Because tech is such a big part of real estate, and from listings to signing documents, when we do international business, for example, most of the times we don't have to be there because there are applications, there's technology to support our work. And so what I want to know is that going forward in the future, because we do know what we have now, Airbnb is a big platform for us, and we local realtors are also looking at developing apps in that kind of area. But going forward, in the next 5-10 years, how do you see technology impacting the industry?
Thank you so much, and a pleasure to be here this afternoon. It's, you know, when we start talking technology, I think I could sit here all day, especially the impact of technology all across sectors and the real estate. Internet connectivity a few years ago was deemed by the UN to be another utility. So you have water, you have electricity, and internet connectivity is now, you know, a must, is a given. Without that foundation, you know, it's going to be really difficult, you know, for us to move, you know, ahead in terms of our real estate development. we are seeing a lot of FTTH developments, which is fiber to the home. We have to get to that point where we have fiber links into every building. As Dimension Data, we're already doing that, powering up commercial properties, powering up residential properties as well. But this also is pretty capital intensive. But the more, the more participants in this area, we should, have full connectivity in our homes. We're talking smart cities now. And you just look around you, everything is now being powered, by connectivity. You're looking at your home, for example. You have a smart homes. Your Alexas, your now even the blinds in your home is all being, powered by technology. So if you're not looking at technology in terms of your listings, you're really going to be far behind the curve. And you're looking at apps, for example, which should help you, with your listings. How do you make the properties, more attractive? What sort of entry enhancements are there in the home? There's so much of it, and especially when you come to commercial properties as well. If you're looking at any, bringing on board any organization, into your commercial property, if it is not wired, you have a big problem. So we have to be looking at those things. Where are we going as a nation, so that we are able to invest and ensure that we have adequate infrastructure, all across the country. We definitely, I'm sure we're looking at that, Madam Minister.
Definitely.
Yes, and aside of the, should I call it connectivity or infrastructure, we have to look also at the development of our people, from a technology perspective. And that's one of the reasons why we've been promoting all this advocacy, for more women in ICT, for example. If we have all of this now, infrastructure, and we don't have people, who are able to man them or understand the way forward, I can imagine that this is going to be quite a problem. So definitely going forward, in the realm of your industry, technology, ICT is going to be playing a major role. You're no longer, it's not about walking. Look at what COVID did. If you're having to take your client around the property, you're physically going to be there. Now you have the power of doing a virtual, tour, a virtual walk around, your property. So much is changing, and I'll say that the quicker we adopt, ICT in our way of life, the better it will be for all of us. Okay, thank you.
Yvette Atepe. My next question is for Jivodi. I'm sure you feel a bit left out by now. So, reputation is something that is very important, obviously, in any business, and especially in the real estate business, where there are all these resources that go into it. Is the single most expensive investment most people will ever make in their lifetimes. And as real estate professionals, obviously our brands are very important in how people see us and how, and even their willingness to approach us for our services are very important in how people see us and how, and even their willingness to approach us for our services. Now, my question is, how do real estate professionals and investors build their personal brands, and how do we protect it? Because building it is one thing, protecting it for the long haul is another.
All right. Can you hear me? Or do I need the...
I think you need mine.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited to be here. I will say again, I had the privilege of speaking to GREPA a few years ago, when it was very small. Starting, Victoria invited me to speak to the group, and so I'm happy to be back on the platform speaking to the panel. Now, the way I define a personal brand is very simple. Is what people say about you when you are not in the room. And that's where I believe that a lot of us forget that message. I talk about your industry a lot. I've had the privilege to work with a few people in your industry. And one of the things I want to leave with you, I mean, I always say that I don't go somewhere without leaving a few skills. I want to go straight into just leaving you with maybe 4 things you need to think about in your industry as to protect, preserve, and make your reputation known. The first thing I want you to think about as a real estate practitioner is, what is your real position in the market? Do you really know? Do you have clarity? Because what a lot of people do is they have clarity about what they do, but they don't have clarity about what people know that they do. They are 2 different things. Your personal brand is what you think you know that you do, but do others know that you do what you're saying that you do? Because we sell perception, and people judge a book by its cover. They just see you and presume that this is who you are, whether you like it or not. Until you open that book, they have already met you. But what if they haven't met you? And I'm just tailing on what my 2 colleagues have just said. People are going to reach you virtually. People are going to reach you traditionally. But in both platforms, do people know you for what you are? So what is your position? And then the second thing I'll say, person to person. What value are you giving to people and they are saying that about you behind your back? That's the second thing. That's the key thing about reputation. Reputation is, what someone is saying about you. So that is very key. Okay, and then the third thing is people focus on what they do, but not who they are. But the clients actually buy who you are, not what you do. If people get to know you and the experience you deliver to them individually, whatever you have, they would buy. So I always tell people buy you before they buy anything else that you have. So my question to you is, if you are a solopreneur, 1-person business, have you been able to communicate clearly who you are in an experience? 2, if you have a team, have you been able to invest that ability into your team to communicate who you are? Because that's the only message people get. Your team are the ambassadors. Your team are the ones that give value. In Ghana, one of the biggest things, I've run a business for 23 years. And in my experience over 2 decades running a business on this terrain, as difficult as the terrain may be as we talk about, and be successful at it, what we know in Ghana is that we have to be there for our businesses to grow. And Yvette made a point about the fact that, listen, and Honorable Frida said, listen, we can't compare to our brothers and sisters who are from the Western world. If we are not there, if you are not there, what happens? So it's like the whole business is dependent on the life of the owner. And this has happened for so many years. So if you look at my business, people know Djibouti, but people tag and say, oh, that's the Allure lady. The Allure lady, Allure. So they are calling the business, but they are focusing on you, the person. So they may know the name of the business, but the person they are looking for whenever they walk in is the Allure lady. So unless you are the doorman, you are the front office, you are the person who is the customer service person, you are the person who is packing, you are the person who is doing the staging. They come even to a place they want to view. They want to see the owner doing the staging themselves, packing up, putting the chairs there, laying out the place. If they walk in and the owner is not there, some people would even leave if they don't find the owner, because without the owner, there's no business. And this is the terrain we play on. And that is why I believe that if you want to scale a business, it's quite difficult in that terrain. But there's a way you can do it by positioning a couple of people and making those people known. And it is a risk. I tell every entrepreneur, because Unfortunately, let me go into the other challenge we have as entrepreneurs. You train somebody, you give them everything you have, and they take it out and they compete against you in the same terrain. Let me call it, I have done every single thing you can think about, whether you bond the person and you bring a lawyer in and you do. Our systems haven't given us all the range yet to be able to say you can bond somebody, train the person, let the person stay with you for 2 years. Within 6 months, they'll say, listen, they have a family problem. They have to leave. They are going to have a child. They have to leave. And they start their own business. And there's nothing that can stop them. So these are real challenges that entrepreneurs face in our terrain. And we have to be aware of them. So my question to, as a real estate owner, as a real estate practitioner. Oh, and I'm really happy. Congratulations to all of you who got certified as real estate practitioners, because it really helps your brand. Congratulations. I think it was an amazing thing, and it really adds to the credibility of who you are. So congratulations. But as a business owner, so what are some of the things? One, relying on people who would walk away from you. Two, being the only person day and night. So you become a 24-hour entrepreneur. You don't have time for yourself. You don't have time to sleep. You don't have time to do anything. There are real challenges. So my point is, this affects your brand directly. If you are not there, it affects your brand directly. If you invest in somebody and the person walks away, it affects your brand directly. So I had to come up with certain things that I had to do as an entrepreneur to position that. It's still hard. And I want you to realize it's not perfect, but you have to keep at it. And that is my fourth point. You have to really be resilient in doing this. Yeah. And no matter what it is, you have to push that agenda. Because here in this country, you can't say to yourself, I will just succeed overnight. You stay the course. You decide that I will invest in this person. I will do plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Because that is what you have to do as a Ghanaian entrepreneur. And know that some people will walk away from you. I mean, anybody who knows my business will tell you they knew people by name. And these people would walk away. Oh, where's this person? I mean, Yvette would bear me witness. Oh, this, AC was here. Oh, John was here. Where's John? Because every client begins to bond with that person you have given them to. The next moment, that person is gone. So how can you be able to duplicate yourself into more than one person if you have a team? Also, if you are alone, how can you continue to scale? So my thing is, use technology. That's one of the key aspects. But I only use technology, like I said, in the front. I mean, I go out of my way to be truthful. One, in my brand, I'm very authentic. If you go to, you would know my failures. I mean, I don't hide them. You will know my vulnerabilities. I don't hide them. You'll be surprised that people connect emotionally and not always logically. So the person that is buying you, they are buying everything you have, including your failures. They know that you are not a perfect entrepreneur. That is actually why they would come to you. So as a real estate person, don't be fake in your reputation. Because when that veil comes off, it will come off in public the same way you actually positioned it out there. So one. Second, protect your reputation by having everybody else who is at the neck of your business, who has that value. They may not have what you have. And it is okay for you to say, I don't know it, I would call this person. So teach your people that imperfection is also okay. They should not go and say the wrong thing to a client. They should not go and lie to a client. They should not protect your brand. They should not lie. They should not say what doesn't exist. They should not offer a price that does not exist. So don't lie. Tell them, I will check, I will revert, but revert quickly. Keep your promises. Let your people keep your promises. And then I will say this over and over again, be visible. Don't say, oh, this is how I am. I'm very quiet as an introvert. You would be an introvert waiting for your money to come. So it doesn't matter how much you want to hide your face. Be visible. Let people know you as the brand so that in case your team fall by the wayside, they've seen you before. So be visible. Show that visibility and show it no matter what, that I am the person behind the business and I can do this. Because in the past, we used to position others, position a name, and people were okay with it. But then when I go back, I can say something about, I don't know how many of you have been in Ghana for a long time, but I remember things like, well, some of us at this age will remember, like Inkulenu brand. It was done in beer bottles. How many of you remember it? You know, we used to drink that orange juice for a long time. Inkulenu was owned by Esther Oklu. Then, you know, all of that, but it came to the family. So when a brand is known, and then the person behind the brand is also known. So let's keep it up. Maybe drinks like Aztec, Refresh, they were known by, Owusu family, or, you know, things like that. So in real estate, we also have them. We have people who we've known, names that we've known, and brands behind it. So as you build, don't get worried about the fact that you will not be known, but be visible. Invest in your team, multiple people, but always be there when they fall. Give yourself the initial stages, push yourself through, but always remember that you cannot do everything. Be imperfect, be vulnerable, but know your position, most importantly, before you set out to sell your brand. Your position is the first space that people will buy you from. Know what you're selling. Am I commercial? Am I residential? Do I offer facility services? What other things do I add? What is my added value? Let people understand what you have in your plethora of services, and let that hold your brand reputation. My few tips.
Thank you, Jibodi. A round of applause. So we have learned in this short time to protect, preserve, and make our reputation known. Thank you for that. How do I speak to Pamela Banks? Where should I look? Behind me?
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Welcome to our panel, Pamela Banks. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So my question to you is that networking is a big part of real estate buying and selling, obviously, and we see a lot of the times how the men hang out over beer and over golf, etc. But I can't do that because I have kids at home that I need to go back to. And so my question is that as women with full lives, and when a woman has a full life is different from when a man has a full life because the responsibilities are completely different. And so with all of the unfair disadvantages that we've had to deal with, how do you think we women professionals in real estate can make space for business socialization, not just hanging out, but the kind of socialization that brings business and obviously makes an impact in the work that we do?
Definitely. Thank you so much. It is such an honor to be here. And I can't think of a better way to start my day than with all of you. You know, when Victoria invited our organization to be part of this panel, she reached out to our association executive, and he immediately reached out to me as the national president and said, "What do you think? Would you like to?" And I said, "Most definitely." Because although we are miles apart, our cultures may be different, and we still have something in common, the fact that we are women. And as you stated, women have different obligations. Women have different responsibilities. And so we need to unite, and we need to be together with one another in order to empower each other. As I listened to these amazing ladies on the panel, it started out with affordable housing. And I have to say, even here in the United States of America, that is something that we always continually battle with, is getting affordable housing here in our country. So we understand what you're saying, and I applaud you. And I want you to know that I am here this morning to let all of you ladies out there and gentlemen know that we are here to support you, to help you, to guide you. And we applaud you for what you're doing to set the foundation of the future of women in real estate in Ghana. I mean, I have to say that the Women's Council of Realtors has been there. We've walked in your shoes. We know where you're at. And when I listen to the women, when they talk about the role of women in real estate, the role of women in real estate continually changes. It evolves with what's happening in the country and in the world. And we see that all the time. And when I listen to the advice, and I took some notes about reputation is key. In order for us as women to be able to build our brand, we must make sure that we hold the utmost standards. So an organization such as the Women's Council of Realtors provides women with an opportunity to grow both personally and professionally, because we know that we have different obligations. Let's face it, we are primarily the caregivers of our children and our families. You know, just like all of you, I am a wife. I've been married for 41 years. I am a mother. I have 3 children. I am a grandmother. I am blessed with 4 granddaughters. And I'm a friend and a sister and a mother and all those things that take some of our time away from our work. However, there's something I want to remind all of you, and that is to take time for yourselves. I enjoy growing orchids. So whatever it is that you like to do that. It's good for you both personally and professionally. Join an organization, unite with one another as women, support one another. The Women's Council of Realtors has a long legacy and history of advancing women in the real estate industry. We do that through education. Education is key to our success. We do that through our networking, our referrals. When you talk about how do you network and how do you do referrals, you get involved. You become part of the process. You have a seat at the table. When you have a seat at the table, you have an opportunity to advance yourself and your profession. The Women's Council of Realtors is an organization that provides women to build relationships with one another, whether it's in this country or another country. We are consistently looking at ways to partner. We look outside of our own country globally. In 2013, the national president at the time, Marco Willis, actually went to Uganda and met with those women who were graduating with real estate degrees to give them advice, to give them resources, to give them tools so that they could build their confidence and courage to do things that they thought maybe were impossible. Over the years, the Women's Council has reached out across the world. We've been to Serbia, we've been to Spain several times, to Brazil, to Canada. These are the opportunities for us to not only network with other women in our own country, but to network with women around the globe. And so it's important that you understand that when you get involved in your profession and you have the opportunity to learn from other women that serve as role models, such as these amazing women that are sitting on this panel and all the other women that are trailblazers, they are carrying the torch for the rest of us, for our daughters, our granddaughters, to carry on. And yes, we may have some other obligations. We may be the caregivers of our family, but we also have a unity in one another, a unity that supports each other's growth. And when we talk about a culture, the culture that we have at the Women's Council of Realtors gives women the opportunity to grow and learn in a safe environment. And that environment starts out at a local level. This organization is the 12th largest women's organization in the country in the United States. We have a very large infrastructure of our organization. We have 25 state networks, 225 local networks. We have a presence all over the country. And what happens on a local, real estate is local. And so our local networks actually reach out and provide thousands of programs and education so that the members, the real estate agents, the women that are around there can advance their tools and their knowledge and raise above the competition. Our state infrastructure is an infrastructure where we take leaders and we start to filter down and give them resources and tools so that they can provide opportunities for others to grow. And then our national organization is where the training, where the resources come in, that we allow our members to have experiences such as speaking in public, such as learning how to use technology that was talked about today, because you need to be at the cutting edge. Think about it. Who would have thought a few years ago that I would be able to zoom in via technology and talk to all of you and network with all of you and learn about how you do business and tell you about how we do business here in our country? You know, South Florida is a place where lots of people want to come. You know, Orlando has Disney. Miami has the beautiful beaches. It's said that over 900 people a day move to Florida. So as a busy real estate professional, I need to connect with other women that will tell me, you know what, you're not in this alone. This is how I do it. This is how I learned. So share with one another. Don't be afraid to give your knowledge away, because what you give always comes back to you tenfold. And I have to say to the men of our members, are men. We want men that want to be the best that they can be. They want to surround themselves. We want people that want to surround themselves with like-minded professionals, discuss real estate issues, and do business together. That's the foundation of our organization. We're focused on leadership. We're focused on professional development, because leadership skills are the skills that give us the confidence and the courage to reach out and do that networking, whether it's via technology or it's one-on-one. The Women's Council has been around. We have been the test of time, and we continue to evolve. This year, we've actually added more opportunities for our members to network in smaller groups. So we put together a global group. We put together a commercial women's group. We put together a broker-owner group, because although we are mostly residential in the Women's Council, we know that our members are diversified. So we have to give our members what they want when they want it. So these masterminds group women from all over the country and possibly the world, where they can share their experiences and their expertise with one another. Networking can be done in many different ways. The Women's Council provides the resources and tools and allows us to connect, to grow, and to empower one another. So with that being said, I want to thank you again for having me here. I wish I was on stage. I'd love to visit your beautiful country. Maybe someday I will. And maybe someday you'll be here in America and come and visit us. So that's what I have to say. And thank you again for having me as part of this panel.
Thank you, Pamela. So I'll go. Yes. So I'll go back now. Oh, thank you for that, Pamela. I'll go back now to the Honorable Minister.
Thank you.
Sorry, you keep getting all the hard questions, but you are the President's representative, and any questions we want to ask him, we will ask you. So I wanted to know, this seems like a bit of a cliche question, but In this room, there are a lot of foreign investors, and there are more even watching us through the GREPA platform and on social media. I think they would like to know how government is creating an enabling environment for investors that are interested in coming into the country and investing primarily in the real estate industry.
Thank you. I think in my earlier presentation, I spoke about that, the fact that the housing industry is a capital-intensive area, and for that matter, government alone cannot shoulder it, so we have to partner with the private sector. And what government can do or is doing is to create an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. I mentioned some of the tax incentives available to the private sector, especially investors from foreign investors as well. I talked about the basic ingredient for the housing industry, which is land. I spoke about the intervention that government is making on that side. I also spoke about the other incentives. What I think I left out is the finance, the mortgage finance, and that's what we are trying to talk about in our part of the world. In the developed countries like in the US, in Europe and other parts of the world, mortgage financing is well known everywhere. But in our part of the world, we still have to do a lot of advocacy in that direction, because every investor would want to know how he can recoup his money or his investment in the housing sector. So these three things are, I think, major interventions that the government is doing to ensure that, especially the foreign investors are able to secure lands, able to go through the tax exemptions with GIPC, where the ministry is in a position to facilitate that, and also how we can negotiate with the banks to ensure that mortgage financing gets down to the level where it's supposed to be. I spoke about the pilot program that we did in Temba Community 22. We actually did that with the banks. The government ceded an X amount of money to the banks, and the banks supported the private sector to roll out affordable housing. So yes, government is creating a lot of enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. And if I may just chip into what our colleague who joined us just spoke about, the fact that women have a lot of work to do. I cannot agree with her more that we need to do a lot of networking. Apart from the networking, I think we need to also mentor ourselves and mentor young people who want to venture into the housing industry. I believe we have a lot of women in the built environment. Recently, the Architectural Registration Institute, to celebrate the Architectural Registration Day, I was there to represent the ministry. We have the ARC as an agency under the ministry. But as a woman, Manette, for instance, started the housing industry, and at that time, people felt it was a man's job. So you need to identify your strengths, the strengths that we have, no matter the situation you find yourself, no matter the trials and tribulations that you may be going through. As Jiboji said, when you start, it's not going to be easy, it's not going to be all rosy. But once you have that strength in you, you have to pursue it and network and then mentor other people and also get other people to mentor you. Because getting into the housing industry, I am grateful to my president for giving me that opportunity to serve as a deputy minister at the time for the housing industry. I was moved to the Women's and Children's Ministry, now the Gender Ministry as a deputy minister, and moved back to the housing ministry as a minister of state to pursue affordable housing for the ministry and for that matter government. So when you are put in a position, you have to develop the passion for it. You have to put yourself into it and see how best you can run with it. Don't sit back and say that it's a man's world, so I cannot do it. Once Jibodi has been able to do it, once Rashida has been able to do it, you can also do it. So I believe that the inner self, you'll be able to have that self-confidence that you can do it. You should not think that the housing industry is a man's world. After all, we keep charge of the house, we keep charge of the home. We know all the beautiful, the artifacts and everything comes with women. From where I sit, I see a lot of designs from architects. And most of the time I ask myself, we don't even see greens, plants, trees being parts of the design. But because I am a woman, I believe I have that eye to assess the plan and assess the design and sit down with the investor and ask him, couldn't you have put this in here? Couldn't you have put that in here? So I believe that God created women in a very special way, that we need to tap into what God has given to us and improve on it and make sure that we affect the lives of other people. So yes, there's a lot of government interventions for our investors who want to venture into the industry, and our doors are always opened.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Shortly, we are going to start a Q&A session with the panelists. So if you have any questions, get them ready, and we will take them shortly. But I'm going to come back to Yvette. Confidence is a big issue for women. For everyone mostly, but especially for women. We have this sort of imposter syndrome, you know? When we go into rooms, we feel like, yes, we are here, but should we be here? You know, should I be at home? Should I be in a room full of men, especially in industries like real estate, like IT? You enter these rooms and you feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be on this table. And I am looking at how we can make women realize that they're just as good, that they have just a right, just as much a right as a man to be in this room. And it's not just a matter of talking about it, because I have seen over the years, I mean, you try to talk about it, but it's not something you can talk people into per se. What I want to know is how us women can shed this imposter syndrome, how we can feel like we are supposed to be in the rooms that we find ourselves in, on the tables where power resides.
Thank you very much. This is so interesting because I'll tell you, I'll give you a little story, and that's really my own story. I was a very shy person, you know, and when I say shy, I would sit in a corner and I was very happy to observe. You know, but with time, I realized that, I mean, really, whatever is going on around me, you know, I know, and this is something I can do, you know, so why do I still keep sitting in the corner? Then I realized what it was. It was my upbringing. I was taught to be a proper lady. You don't speak when you have not been spoken, you know, to. You don't enter a room where you have not been invited to, you know, and all of that. So that is how I had been molded. Gradually, I realized that, yes, it is good to have all those attributes, but we have to learn when to shift the dial. And I would say that my day of reckoning came when I was interviewed for a very senior position in South Africa. And I got into the room. Before getting in, I saw all my competition, so to speak, and they were all men anyway. So I get into the room, and the CEO at the time just looks at me and says, wow, I didn't realize Yvette was a female name, you know. And I was thinking to myself, who doesn't know Yvette is, you know? So I think in my shock, I immediately just told him, how do you not know Yvette is a female name? And then he started laughing. He says, sit, that's the kind of banter I'm looking for. My previous self would have kept quiet. Oh, sorry, yes, it is a female name. But this is what changed it. So we sat there, and my interview that was supposed to take 15 minutes, we ended up talking for almost an hour. So when I came out, everyone else just looking at me says, you know, do you think we still need to continue this interview? And of course, I got the job. So it's I would say it's innate, but it's important that we snap out of that imposter syndrome. But it always happens when you do not have the knowledge that is required. You know, so when you are not sure of the subject, when you are not really, you know, immersed in whatever the situation is or the job role is, you start to feel a bit intimidated. But for you to be able to get that confidence, you must be at the top of your game. It's important. You cannot be just coasting along, and believe that, that confidence will just come or the knowledge will just come. You have to really work at it. Let's not kid ourselves and assume that, overnight you just become a confident person. No. You have to work at it. You have to, really know what it is you are doing. So when the time comes for you to step up, it's so important. And I have a saying to my staff all the time: victory loves preparation. Victory loves preparation. You must be prepared so that when that opportunity comes, you are ready. And you will naturally exude that confidence. You walk into a room, you know what you are about, what the topic is. It's easy for you to get into, any conversation, and have that confidence. Another thing also that I realize is, when you have so many men and very few women, in a sector or in your organization, very often they'll tend to relegate the women, to the background. If you do not make that bold step to find that seat at the table, nobody's going to invite you to it. There's a big sign in my office that says, if you are not invited to the table, or they say there's no place at the table, bring a folding chair. Find your folding chair. And you cannot find a folding chair to enter the room if you do not have that confidence that I indeed know that I have a place at this table and I would be able to perform creditably. So I would say that looking at your sector in real estate, if you do not understand what the trends are, you do not understand what people are looking for, how do you become confident about the products that you are selling? It's difficult. If you are not able to harness all the technology around you, everything now is on social media. How are you projecting those homes you are selling? There's all the YouTube videos and all of that. You have to be confident. I'm sure when you watch some of these real estate, realtors, there's one I really like, Producer Michael. He is over the top, and nothing stops us from being that way. But you can only be that way because you know what your subject is and you know it well. You are at the top of your game in that regard. Thank you.
So my last question is going to go to Jibodi before we take the questions from those present in the room. And my question to you is, Jibodi, compassion and empathy are seen mostly as feminine traits. I disagree. That is a widely held belief, so I'm going to go with that. It is also said that women are more perceptive and less intimidating. And in the real estate industry, for example, you see a lot of potential investors telling you, I don't want anybody telling me what to do with my money. And, men can be a bit, they can double down quite too much. And so these are obviously advantages that we hold over others. And what I want to know is, how can we leverage these advantages in our businesses?
Okay. Hi, Yolanda and Eduardo. Good to see you. They are my family, friends, and clients at the same time. So compassion and empathy. These are strengths. These are enabling capacities. You communicate these. One of the things that I think I was going to end my first talk with was about the fact that all the soft skills that you're going to use for your business, you have to learn them. you have to develop them. There is a level of natural ability that everybody has. But if you compare natural ability versus developed capacity, the size is this. So when Yvette started talking about the fact that you have to know your stuff, it just reminded me, let me take this off because I'm very, it just reminded me how I focus on developing those soft skills. So when you talk about compassion, empathy, these come naturally to you. But the key that these form is actually emotional intelligence, or what we call being emotional intelligence, or having the emotional quotient. Your emotional intelligence comes from all the things that you have experienced in life. You have been socialized around. I think, Yvette, so you've been taught to be someone who is humble technically, respectful. You're not supposed to look at people in the eye. When someone rejects you, don't fight. They tell you just walk away. Women don't fight. Women don't get into fist fights. Men do that. Women don't play soccer. Men do that. Women are the ones who are humble, respectful, carry yourself. Of course, that has changed over and over again. But what I'm saying is that those innate qualities actually have to be developed, or else you can't leverage them. So you may have compassion naturally, but working with compassion and empathy means that being able to engage your client's mind to align what their expectations are emotionally, the experience they want to get from that, whatever they are buying, and use that to sell to them. That's actually having empathy. So a lot of people think empathy is, oh, I feel for you. Oh, I'm so sorry, Lady Frida. Oh, Honorable Frida, I'm so sorry. Yes, that is the base of empathy and compassion. That is innate. But using it means that you have to build your ability. I think the lady said it, Pamela said it, you have to build your ability to public speak. And there's something I talk about which is called spontaneous public speaking. SPS. It's like a signal. Immediately you connect with the client, you meet them, and they start to share. You don't just presume the client wants a square building with a lawn. No. This is, let me give you a practical example of compassion and empathy. You talk to the person by using some of the things maybe I may teach in my high performance coaching class. It's like maybe you meet a client and say, you know, hello, this is my name. You start having a normal conversation, but you say something about maybe what have you been up to for the past month, or what personal interest or what passion have you gone, oh, I went on vacation with my family, and you know, my family and I are doing this and would like to do this, and we are interested in doing this. Everything they tell you, you connect with that, create expectations from that, and use that as your tool to let what they are looking for align with what you are giving them. So that immediately would let you know what to find on the market to connect with your client's needs. So clients' needs are not when you sit on the phone only and say, okay, what kind of house are you looking for? In what location? Those are basic and fundamental, but the experience they want is what you give them. So I always say that women have that skill naturally. We are socialized with what I call a womb. Not necessarily a womb to give birth, but a womb that can take a lot of pain, the kind of things a man would cry about, let me say, a woman will hardly cry about. Sorry, men, gentlemen. They would cry in the dark. Women would cry in the light. Now, we would cry in the light after the pain has been excruciating, like giving birth, or like stretching ourselves. So what I'm saying is that put that into business context. You have to have a depth of emotional intelligence, and that is what the average woman naturally has. So when you resist them, when you tell them, why should I buy a house like this? A woman will not necessarily walk away. A man would use confidence that a woman would not naturally use, because she's saying, oh my God, if I go step up to this. I would do. But a man will say, you need to buy it because this, you need to buy it because this. But if you are a woman and he says, why should I buy a house like this? Well, because you just told me that you like quiet places. You and your family do this in a very presentable way. So I say that as the woman starts to talk, we're like, you're right. Show me. So these are things you can package in your conversation, leveraging compassion, leveraging empathy, leveraging emotional intelligence, leveraging that through your public speaking, particularly spontaneous ones, and delivering experiences through every engagement. That is what I will tell you. So it is a natural tool you have. Now go out there and develop it. Like Yvette said, and Lady Frida said, the learnings are out there. You can go online and learn. You can get a coach. You can get people to help you. That is actually part of what an entrepreneur does. This morning, we were listening to a keynote speaker this morning, and she said, I go to school every year. She's been in business for 40 years. She said, I go to school, whether it's a 3-day school, whether it's a 10-month school, whether it's 5 days or something I can learn, I go to school. It's part of a plan. So nobody, no matter how much your business has grown, you need to go to school every year. This is a school. And I congratulate Victoria, and I congratulate you, everyone in the room, for coming to school, because this is school. This is what you are going to use in 2022. These are some of the learnings you are going to take. So what builds your credibility is being able to develop your skills. Don't leave it idle. Don't say, I am empathic naturally and I can be very nice to people. I can be warm. How do you use it? What is it? What is empathy? You need to understand the definition. How do I use it in my daily work? You need to understand what it takes. How do I make it practical in everything I do? You have to make it up. So I always say soft skills are learned. Innate skills are honed. Performance skills require knowledge. That's the only way your credibility and your brand will stand out. So you have them naturally. Women are great at it. And like I would say this, people think introverts are not people who can do things in a room. Like Yvette gave an example. Listen, introverts make some of the best leaders in the world. So I want to say to people who you think, maybe I don't speak, I'm not very expressive, I'm quiet, I'm a quiet person. Trust me, they are the best listeners. They listen very intently, and when they begin to speak, you can tell that everything has gone in. Well organized, well understood, and well orated. So don't think anyone cannot do anything. Introverts are very, so if you're an introvert in this room and you're an entrepreneur, know that you can be one of the best public speakers ever, one of the best communicators ever. Communication is learned, clarity is learned, confidence is learned. I mean, I love the way she used it powerfully. Everything you use is learned. And most importantly, compassion, vulnerability, empathy, emotional intelligence, they are actually learned before you can use it. So hone it, learn it, build it, package it in how you communicate and use it.
Thank you, Zubodi. Thank you for schooling us. Okay, so I did say that was the last question, but it's not.
But Rashida, let me just add a bit to the school thing that she spoke about. I must say that before I was given the opportunity to serve in the housing industry, I knew next to nothing about housing. But I took it upon myself to learn on the job. I kept attending programs, attending workshops, attending seminars, interacting with people, learning from others. And thank you, Vicky, for giving me the opportunity to be part of your program in Chicago. So no matter who you are, no matter the level you find yourself in, you still have to learn on the job. I was just reading through Vicky's profile this morning, and I realized that apart from her over a decade experience in the industry, apart from the fora she's attended, the seminars and workshops and all that, she has acquired for herself a master's degree in the real estate industry. And I think that's a plus. Something that we all ought to be doing. Don't sit back and think that I have 40 years experience in this, I have 40 years experience in that, so I will not learn new things. Society is dynamic. We have to move with time. So Vicky, congratulations. Thank you.
you, Honorable Minister. Our last question is for... Yes, so our last question is for Pamela Banks. If I can just have her again. It feels weird asking her questions without seeing her. Okay, all right. So, Pamela, at the Women's Council of Realtors, we want to know what kind of support and partnership our women real estate professionals can have with your organization.
Yes, thank you for that question. We are here to form an alliance. We are here to have conferences together. We've done that with several other countries and just kind of brainstorm on where to begin. And you begin at the very bottom. You begin with forming your organization with rules, with bylaws, and it's done very properly so that you build on that leadership skill. So we're here in many different ways, and most importantly, we're here to provide empowerment, mentorship, which was mentioned a few times, as well as to collaborate and bounce off ideas. Let us know how we can help.
Thank you very much, Pamela Banks. Pamela Banks says they want to know how they can help. So the ball is in the court of women real estate professionals to reach out to them to get the necessary support. And the Honorable Minister spoke about how government is looking at ways to make mortgages more available to investors and individuals. G-Body wants us to know that your brand is not just yourself, but the people around your work as well, and that we all need to develop soft skills to help us in our work and in our businesses. Yvette spoke about snapping out of your imposter syndrome and knowing when to be assertive. You don't have to change your entire personality. You don't have to turn into the most confident person in the room. Just know when to rip it out and use it. And Pamela again said from previous discussions that we need to help one another as women in real estate, and we need to empower each other and learn how to multitask to bring our best to the industry. Now we are going to go ahead and take any questions. So if anyone has questions, no? Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to say a special thank you. I think I should have been in that corner, but I just wanted to leave it to you guys because you guys have been such an inspiration to me. G-Body, I've been watching you. You are just growing, and I just love to see all your videos. It really inspires me. And so I just didn't think I have to be there. I have to be in the audience to listen to you. Thank you so much for being here. Mama Frida.
Yes, darling.
You know I love you from the bottom of my heart, right? This woman comes with me everywhere. She travels to Chicago, and one thing she does, she will sit in the conference and listen to everything. She's more than a member. And that's one thing that I love about this woman. She talks, and she talks with knowledge. She knows the industry, and that's the reason why I always want to see her in panels like this. Thank you very much. Yvette, you know it, right? Hafsa, Factor Nonverbal. So she's my childhood schoolmate. We all went to Holy Child School together, very good friends. We've known each other for a very long time. Coincidentally, her husband is also a very good friend of mine, Ellis Atekwe. He was also part of our CIPS class. And from what she said, she's the one that pushed Ellis to take the CIPS class. And so Yvette is also an inspiration. I have seen her also grow in the IT area over the years. I remember her when we finished school. She went to Legon, I went to Tech, and then she went to Celtel. I've been following her as well, and I thought it wise to bring her on board. I wanted all Holy Child girls on this panel, but I just couldn't do it. Thank you so much, Yvette.
You're welcome.
I'm too being biased.
I know, right? Rashida, you're such a darling. Thank you so much. On that note, I would like to bring this panel to a close, and thank you very much, this audience, for listening in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vicky, and for our women who were here to inspire the other women.
I'm so sorry. Is Pamela still on? Pamela.
Hello? Yeah. Yes,
she's
I am.
still
Thank
there.
you,
So
Vicky.
sorry. Because you are on Zoom, I just forgot that you were there. Just want to say thank you. Say thank you to Jeff as well for me. WCR is a huge organization, and I look forward to working with them to set up a women's wing within GREPA. Women need resources like that, so they're a very good resource for the women who are interested in real estate. The challenges, everything that we go through as women, they will be our support. So Pamela, thank you very much for being a resource here. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.
Whilst our women get off stage, our next speaker will be the MD of the State Housing Corporation. He will join us briefly. But let me just, I usually don't buy newspapers, but today something touched my spirit on my way here to buy the graphic. And on page 7 is the editorial. I mean, the editorial is a stand the newspaper takes on issues that it thinks are very pertinent to the public. It's titled Solving the Housing Deficit, as if they knew there was a program like this going on here. And I'm quoting from there. It said, with certain figures, the estimated housing deficit is pegged at almost 3 million housing units. That is why Ghana is experiencing a major accommodation shortage.